to welcome Mr. Ahmad Al Hindawi, recently appointed Secretary-General Special Envoy for Youth. Mr. Al Hindawi, welcome. Congratulations. Thank you. It's definitely a pleasure for us, for the post-2015 National Consultations team in Jordan, to have this opportunity and to hear your views. I'll start basically with this position, which is a new position in the history of the UN for youth. What does it represent for you specifically and for the UN in general?
Thank you for this opportunity, and again congratulations for your work and working hard to involve and to hear the voices of the people of Georgia and the post-MTGs. First, regarding this position, I believe first the United Nations sending a very clear message now regarding youth empowerment and that the young people in the heart of the organization. The Secretary-General 5-year action agenda highlighted youth as one of the main 5 areas working with and for young people. And there are a set of actions that the Secretary-General announced that he will implement in his second term. One of them is appointing his envoy in youth and establishing a system-wide action plan and the UN volunteer program in youth. These actions represent that the United Nations is again building over the momentum of the International Year of Youth and trying to open a new way for putting the youth in the heart of the development agenda. A clear message again is by appointing a young person in this position. The United Nations always promoted youth-adult partnership, and now this is a place where the UN is proving that youth-adult partnership is not a concept or a term to be promoted, but to be implemented as well. And this is a very great example where the UNSG Secretary-General applying the youth-adult partnership in his cabinet, in his office, and by appointing a young person as his envoy in youth. Another important dimension for this appointment is trying to have a clear championship for young people in the UN Secretariat and to try to harmonize better the work of the United Nations agencies with the headquarters levels, at the regional level, at the country levels as well.
What about your role in the global discussions of the post-2015 as such, building on the regional role, post-2015, I mean, the global discussions on the post-2015?
As you know, I will start in 2 weeks officially to assume my position, but start with acknowledging the great work that has been done by the UN system and by you at all countries in order to have the views of the world population reflected in the new development framework. My role now is to even give further acceleration for this and try to have the young people voices reflected in the post-MTGs. I will work in order to promote all the initiatives that are promoting engaging the young people voices in the post-MTGs. I will work to cooperate with all the existing initiatives that is proven to reach out to many young people around the world through social media and through physical participation and focus group consultations with young people. I will continue to promote this, and I acknowledge all the great work that is being already done by all actors who are taking the lead in that.
According to some preliminary findings of our national consultations, many Jordanians stress the need, the importance to improve education from a qualitative perspective. What do you think should be done in this regard?
When it comes to education, it's clear that the case of Jordan is the more educated the young person is, the less chances sometimes he gets to access a decent job opportunity. And this is the dilemma that we should find a way to deal with. The quality of education is definitely a very important thing, but it has to match the market needs. And we should find a formula through collaboration between the private sector, the government, and definitely civil society at large and the United Nations to make sure that we're having a better harmonization for the educational system that fits the needs of the market. Or education system is not designed only for one purpose. It can have the scientific research, it can have the market needs, or it can be just for personal satisfaction and more fulfillment of some intellectual objectives. So by addressing trying to reform and work in the education system, we should keep an eye open to why young people go to universities and seek higher education, and what are their aspirations out of this. Is it always to find a job in the same domain, or they are seeking just to get more intellectual capacities to do something else? Finding always a decent job opportunity has something to do with the country at large, by enhancing the policies that are promoting decent job opportunities for young people. As you know, the job unemployment rates in the region the youth unemployment rate reached unprecedented numbers, and this is seriously a number that we should waken everyone, and we should all work collectively, because there is no one party, government, civil society, or private sector who can handle this alone. We don't have the luxury of tackling this issue individually. We need to collaborate to find a way to go out of this dilemma by enhancing the education system, and at the same time make it goes hand in hand with the creating job opportunities.
Exactly. Actually, job opportunities, I mean, unemployment has come across as a major concern for Jordanian youth. They're worried about unemployment. They mentioned some barriers, such as issues of transparency and the gap that exists between the education system and the labor market, as you mentioned. However, they also identified some areas for potential development, for example, the green economy. How do you think this concern can be addressed?
I think with the green economy, this shows exactly how we are evolving as a humanity, I mean, how we are progressing. This was not even part of our discussion, or the discussion. I was not there 20 years ago when the MDGs were set. But who thought about the green economy as a leading goal or factor in the new developed framework? This first represents how we are progressing and moving forward. While doing so, we should be visionary, because this document is not about 2015. It's about many more years to come. It's about trying to bridge the gap between today and the future we want. And doing that, it has to be very strategic. It has to be very, very smart investments and setting goals. Again, this is part of what we do, is setting standards for things, setting objectives and goals where we are heading toward, and trying always to reach that goals. Of course, they have to be realistic, but they have to be ambitious at the same time. They have to be visionary in a way that brings everyone to think that we really can do it. And there were so many. Facebook and social media was not exist 6-7 years ago, and the way we use it today. So imagine any developed framework that tried to not keep an eye open to the development of the future. Green economy is one, definitely is one of the future investment, and the very smart investments.
I mean, you mentioned Facebook and you mentioned the social media as such. I mean, currently there are between 2 and 3 million Facebook users in Jordan, and about 50,000 Twitter subscribers. The country has been ranked 7th among the Arab states in the number of Twitter users. To what extent does social media, do you think social media can help young people to influence decision makers?
Yeah, I think it's, we have a great success story, or a great example of the Arab Spring. What happened in the last 2 years shows what the social media can do, and it's given for. It's a transformative tools. When it's given to the right people, to the most population, like young people who aspire democracy, aspire freedom, aspire better future, it can be a transformative tool to transform the society at large. We have seen this in Egypt and Tunisia, and many people will argue that what happened after doesn't really, it's not a very promising things. But it shows that social media, the ICT in general, it gives the tools for the least privileged and for the people who were not, traditionally part of the decision-making process. Democracy today is not about voting anymore. It's about having a direct interaction with the decision-making process on a daily basis. And that's why you establish organizations and civil society organizations to influence policies. You don't vote once and you go after 4 years. Social media, it gives a dialogue. It gives us a space for a platform for young people and all citizens to be engaged in politics, to be engaged in the economy, and to gain more skills and more knowledge. In this sense, using social media with young people is a very strategic way of trying to have their voices heard and reflected. However, I'm always concerned about young people who have no access to social media and to information technology. And we should not forget to be very globalized in the sense to forget some local populations in our country where they still don't have access to ICT. So I think, in one hand, they're trying to make a very good use of these tools, but not to create a clique or elites who make a block or just like become like a social club that is closed for the rest of the population. It should encourage us to make sure that development is reaching everyone and access to these tools is available to everyone. So education is a tool, and not only education but a training as well.
Speaking of development, I mean, how do you envision the role of youth in development as such?
This is part of the way we think about the MDGs, let's say, today, and the post-MDGs. For 2 decades, young people were trying to catch up with the MDGs. I mean, it was set by experts, by diplomats, and then we were trying to have young people all the time being part of the MDGs and to explain what are the MDGs about and why it's important. Now it's different. Now we are going to have a new development framework for the whole globe. I mean, this is everyone's globe. Yeah. In this sense, it's writing a constitution, writing a policy for your country. And if you think that you are a world citizen today, that this is our constitution for development, you are, as a world citizen, you are practicing your right to shape the development framework that will lead this globe for the coming 15 years. I mean, this is very important and very serious. Yes. As you are participating at the national level in voting, you should participate at the global level, shaping the future that you want to live in the future and that you want to inherit for your daughters and sons. Exactly. So, in this sense, young people today are part of setting the new rules for how it should be shaped, and the development framework for the post-MDGs. Now they will be part of shaping this development frameworks, but most importantly, they will own it later because they participated in developing this. So they will own the implementation process and hopefully with the evaluation. And we can have a better world in the future for our children, and at the same time, a better lessons learned to deliver it for the people who will come after us after 15 years and try to develop a new development framework for the future. Exactly. The humanity learn from each other, and we should continue this chain in a very progressive and elegant way.
These youth volunteer initiatives are numerous in Jordan as in the region. How can volunteerism be an important resource for the Arab world, do you think?
It's exactly because we are having the youth bulge today in the Arab world. Means large population and the youth age, 70%, some statistics under 30 years old. And how you can make sure that they are transforming the society, similar to the Asian tigers when they have transformed their economies based on the youth bulge they have. Today in the Arab countries, there is a good opportunity for governments and private sector and the United Nations to put the right investments and policies and programs to help young people. Why volunteerism is very important? Because if you think wisely about it, not programs or governments, any mechanisms can accommodate the need of 70% of the population. Volunteering is the way for people to express their ways of their contribution for the development of their communities, for their villages, for their societies, and to find always, by taking the initiative themselves, to think how they can contribute. So it's not only led by invitation, because volunteerism, sometimes people think, I invite you so you come and volunteer. But volunteerism should be linked to taking initiatives as well, because you will not be able to generate ideas and projects and programs for everyone. But it's more about the individual today to be empowered enough to go and to start finding ways to serve it. Exactly. And by taking the initiative, this is another window for volunteerism that we should not forget. So it's not only about the program, but it's more about the culture of volunteerism, the culture of giving. And we're glad that in the Arab countries we have it. I mean, we have the culture of giving and generosity, solidarity. These are like core values in the way we've been raised, and then it should be reflected in actions. And this is what we call volunteerism now.
Exactly.
making sure that you are doing well, you're supporting your community, your neighborhood, and your country at large, and not only waiting programs to ask you and come and volunteer.
Exactly. Thank you. Is there anything else or any thoughts you would like to add or you'd like to share with us before we end?
I think it's maybe two messages. The first is again to give us a message of hope for all young people around the world that I am a youth practitioner. I work in youth development at a very grassroots level to the national level and different capacities. And today I'm here to serve and to try to convey their messages and inspiration to the UN system. As envoy, I will do my best in representing and to deliver the work of the United Nations to them, and to bridge the gap, to make the young people around the world to better understand the United Nations, especially when it comes to the development side, the development programs and the agencies. So stay tuned and stay always up to date with the work of the United Nations. Find ways always to be close to that. And my message with the post-MDG is that it's not diplomats and experts' job. This is everybody's job. Be involved.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you're giving us hope. So thank you very much, and we're wishing you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.